Being legally armed in itself is never a legal or moral justification for being shot by law enforcement. Period. So we all saw what happened this weekend with the shooting of Alex Preddy. Or rather, depending on where you lie on the political spectrum, we all saw our own version of what happened. Multiple camera angles, multiple statements, and still a radical divide as to what actually occurred. A lot of big feelings in the room right now. I mean, the internet's absolutely on fire about it. Even in the real world, it's all everybody's talking about. I know people have been hounding me to talk about it, which really means they have been hounding me to validate their own opinion. But I'm going to take a step back for a minute. And, I've been thinking about this a lot over the last day or two, and I think I'm going to approach this using the one thing that the internet fucking hates. Nuance. Taking an open mind and looking through the facts, trying to remove my own biases. A sense of poise and rationality, if you will. I've given it a lot of thought, and I'm trying to check my own biases so that I can present the information in a way that I believe makes the most sense and is, pretty close to fair and balanced. No, not this time. So long story short, if you're expecting me to blindly hop on the fuck ICE or the thin blue line all the time, no matter what camp, you're going to be sorely disappointed. I'm going to take a look at the facts, and I'm going to show you where I fall, given the information I have right now at the time. We could get a new piece of information tomorrow that completely changes every part about this story, which is why I normally like to wait a couple days on stuff like this, especially when it's right there on the razor edge. But man, I tried saying I was going to wait a couple days and wait for the facts to come out, and I got shit on by the radicals of both sides. So I guess it's 2026 and everybody prefers a fast opinion to an informed one. So here we go. So in my mind, there's 4 options here. 1, it's ICE's fault. 2, it's Preddy's fault. 3, it's SIG's fault. Oh yeah, it was a SIG P320 that was involved in the incident, and if I find out that's what initiated all of this, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. It's okay, I'm cool, but I swear whoever's writing this season of American News is going out of their way to fuck with me. And 4, it's a combination of all of those things, creating a melting pot of a bad situation that had a bad outcome. So I'm going to try to walk through this point by point and address the different angles. Now, first, let's address the elephant in the room. Being legally armed in itself is never a legal or moral justification for being shot by law enforcement. Period. Exercising your Second Amendment rights is not a death sentence. And I don't think anybody's actually making the argument that exclusively because he was armed, he deserved to be shot. Okay, a few fucking idiots on the internet are making that argument, but anybody with above a room temperature IQ, I think understands that that's insane. He had every legal right to be there, and he had every legal right to be armed, including the extra magazines and the, red dot sight. Yeah, some people try to use the extra magazines as like a declaration of intent, which admittedly to most people probably sounds a bit excessive, but also Minneapolis in the middle of a riot, so fair enough. I wouldn't go to Minneapolis without a gun. Actually, I wouldn't even go with a gun. Fuck that place. But the fact of the matter is, multiple magazines and a red dot sight doesn't prove any intent to harm officers. In fact, in my opinion, I have not been presented with any evidence that he was there with the intent to shoot ICE officers. Was he there to disrupt their duties and potentially interfere with arrests? Almost certainly. But I find it incredibly unlikely that if he was there to ambush agents, that this was the tool set he would bring and the way he would go about it. There's a lot of people going around saying that this was the justification. There's a fake Trump tweet that's circulating the internet right now. I saw so many people sharing this around, and it was very easy to confirm that this was just not true. Again, one of the reasons why I really hate knee-jerk reporting. Also, I'm pretty sure Trump was like a CCW holder in New York back when that was extremely hard to do. I mean, the guy carried around a revolver. So that made like no sense at all at first glance anyhow. But, that doesn't stop the mob. There's so many examples of stuff like that, though. I mean, like, there's this one, too, where this is a very clearly AI photo of what happened. I mean, I've seen this photo everywhere, but even just that one post got almost 100,000 likes, millions of views, and it's just very clearly AI slop. I mean, for fuck's sake, the ICE agent doesn't even have a head in that photo. And I mean, a photo like this, to be fair, would one-shot any boomer on Facebook. It probably has a lot of people's aunt clamoring about how, this is an ICE execution based on something that's just visibly untrue. So just, I guess, be careful with where you're getting some of the info from. It's not going to make things any better. Now, another quick point I want to bring up too, that this gets compared to a lot, is the Kyle Rittenhouse case. And it's actually not hard to see why. Because obviously I was a huge supporter of Kyle during his court case, still a friend of mine. And so theoretically, it would be hypocritical of me to say that Kyle was in the right and not immediately think the same thing for Preddy, right? Both cases involve a fatal shooting of an individual involving somebody who brought a firearm to a protest. I think largely, though, that's where the similarities end. Let me tell you why. For one, Kyle did not initiate any sort of conflict. He was on private property he was invited to be at and was harassed by a convicted child molester who was way too comfortable dropping N-bombs for his skin tone.
Shoot me, nigga! Shoot me, nigga!
Kyle tried to retreat. He ran away from the situation and attempted to remove himself from the conflict. Kyle then only used his weapon as a last resort when cornered and attacked by the aforementioned violent pedophile, which initiated the first of the self-defense shootings that night, as Kyle then afterward attempted to continue to retreat back to police lines. Once he got there, immediately tried to surrender himself to law enforcement. And the rest is history. And once again, Joseph Rosenbaum died doing what he loved, attempting to touch a child. All right, now let's go back to Minnesota. So the real question is, was this a good shoot or a bad shoot, specifically from a federal law enforcement perspective? Now, that's something I know a little bit about, but not something I would feel comfortable speaking on as a subject matter expert. So I'll slightly defer to the help of somebody who is. So joining me for this part, I have former police officer, professional body cam footage reviewer, and one of my best friends on the planet, Cody, aka Donut Operator.
Hi, everyone.
He said the thing.
Hello, it's King Bootlicker, or whatever you guys are sending me in my DMs the past couple of days. No, I'm here to talk about this incident pretty objectively. Just kind of go through the, is it lawful?
Here's one of the elements that I think makes this really dicey on the officer's perspective, or from the officer's side, because from all the stuff that I've seen, Preddy was disarmed the moment the first shot was fired. Yes, they'd already called, gun, gun, gun. They'd removed the gun from his holster. So the guy in the gray shirt or gray sweatshirt is walking away. Mm-hmm. And it is very hard to tell from the grainy footage, but it seems like the SIG that he took off of Preddy is the one that goes off first.
You kind of see his hand go like that because he's holding it sideways as he's walking away, and the hand kind of does that motion.
Yeah.
But as you said, it's like 320p footage, so it's really, really freaking hard to tell.
And it almost looks like you can see a frame where the slide is back.
Yeah.
And so that being the first shot to kick it off, I don't know if it would be an accidental discharge because it's the SIG, doing what SIGs do.
Yeah.
Or if it's, the guy's got a bunch of adrenaline and he just has an ND with a gun he just pulled off of the suspect, right?
Yeah, true.
So either one, I don't know.
Well, that was a big one too. If we're jumping right into it, I don't know if it was communicated that he had taken the gun, probably from him to the other officers, because you can clearly see him. One angle he's reaching, like the back angle, and then when it goes to the Preddy's right hip, you can see the officer pull the gun out.
Yeah,
and then going back to the side angle, you see him walking away with the gun, and that's when you see the little maybe.
Sure, and that's one thing that I had to kind of work through too, is that in that side angle where you see also the same angle you see the SIG go off.
Yeah,
we can very clearly see that Preddy was just disarmed and the cop is walking away with the gun.
Yeah.
The cops who were there in the tussle involving pepper spray and wrestling this guy on the ground, you know what they didn't have access to? That fucking camera angle.
All 4 camera angles.
Yeah. So this is something that, like you said, we've had 48 hours to dissect this, but the guys are in the moment. They didn't see all this shit.
That's where objective reasonableness comes in. Greg Bovino said, the head of ICE, in a press conference, he was like, hey, you people on the internet, you've had 24 plus hours to go over this. Those officers in the moment had a split second to decide what to do. And inside of objective reasonableness, what officers have to deal with is the totality of the circumstances, which is what is in front of them at that moment, what they're seeing, what they're hearing, what they're smelling, everything in that moment to take in.
And that's a legal term, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The totality of the circumstances. There's pepper spray, there's fighting, they know there's a guy with a gun. And this, and this is me just trying to be objective in this, is they hear gun, 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 gun goes off. Maybe it's the 320 that indeed, or maybe, it's a gun went off. Someone yelled gun, gun, gun. And so these officers have to rely on what they're hearing and what the officers around them are saying, which is gun. And they went based off of that to protect themselves and the people around them.
Yeah, because I think this is where it can fall into the situation of two things can be true.
Yeah.
That Preddy didn't deserve to die, but it also wasn't just a baseless execution.
Yeah, they just walk up to the guy because he was carrying or because he was protesting or filming them and just pop him in the head.
Because there's a lot of things you could say about it, like, were they overly aggressive? Were they, kind of initiating some of those things? And that's something that is, can be up for debate.
Yeah.
But
call it what it is. It was a clusterfuck.
Yeah. The one thing I did want to bring up, too, that I thought was interesting is that the reason that he was there specifically, like from all the Signal group chat leaks and everything, is that like they have groups of people that are going around specifically trying to disrupt federal law enforcement. Like that's the entire purpose of them being there.
Yeah.
And what I guess a lot of them don't realize is that if you're interfering with official law enforcement duties, if you're interfering with arrests and things like that, like that's a crime. I'm not saying it's a crime that's deserving of a death penalty.
Yeah.
Obviously, but like that's something like, you see somebody get pulled over on the side of the road and you try getting in between that officer and the person that's being pulled over and see how that goes for you.
Yeah,
like,
that's obstruction right off the bat. It's illegal as shit.
Yeah, and again, you don't deserve to be shot for it, but what the problem is, that leads to an escalation. Whereas if you get in the fucking officer's way, that will probably be escalated to physical force. Whether it's arresting you or just getting you the fuck out of the way, which then can lead to a tussle, which if you're armed can lead to a fatal shooting. Like that's just, it's the thing that escalates things further. My perspective, not from a law enforcement side, but from a guy who conceal carries all the time, right? My problem with it is when I'm carrying a firearm, I'm actually way less likely to be in a confrontation. Like if I'm not carrying and I'm at a bar or something like that, I'm way more likely to get into a confrontation than if I'm armed.
Yeah, 100%.
Because, if I'm armed, that immediately every conflict I get in can be a fatal one.
Absolutely.
Because I brought a firearm to the equation. That's part of the responsibility of being a concealed carrier.
Yeah, in a fight, that firearm is everyone's firearm.
Yeah.
Just like they pulled Preddy's weapon away, but if there are weapons in the equation, if there are weapons in a tussle, then that's everyone's gun. That's everyone's pepper spray. That's everyone's knife.
That's the thing that drives me crazy, because if he was standing on the sidelines, just holding a fuck ICE, cardboard sign or whatever.
Or a cell phone like he was doing. Yeah, just over there.
Over there. He would be fine. Like literally, nothing would be different. Even though he's carrying a firearm, he's protesting, whatever. You have a legal right to protest. It's your First Amendment right to peaceably assemble. Second Amendment right to carry a firearm. That's perfectly fine. When you interject yourself into a conflict like that involving federal law enforcement, I don't know how you want this to go. There's another thing that gets brought up too that I have a fundamental issue with, which is people are comparing this to, if you support federal agents doing, this sort of stuff, then you'll support them confiscating firearms or everything, just comply and stuff like that. I have a fundamental issue with that, because you have a natural right, a God-given right that is protected by the Constitution to keep and to bear arms.
Yeah.
Right? So any violation of that directly violates the Constitution and the founding documents of the country. You do not have a constitutionally guaranteed natural right to illegally enter the country and stay here. I don't know. Just to sum everything up, what are your thoughts now, having seen what we've seen?
I don't think he deserved to die by any way, shape, or form. Given the totality of the circumstances, and, we're just two guys who like watching videos on the internet, we still need to wait for a full investigation to come out and see maybe statements from the officers as to what they were seeing in front of them, the totality of the circumstances. And I'm not saying they were right in killing this guy. I'm not saying they were wrong in killing this guy. I just think we need to look at the full investigation at the end, and we shouldn't bring emotions into this, bring more logic into it, instead of freaking out and burning down our own city and stalking federal officers and creating a database of their license plates. And, even today, people are going out and they're harassing like civilians, just American citizens, and asking them to prove that they're not ICE, asking them for papers, which is kind of wild.
Yeah, isn't that a full 180?
Oh, yeah.
This is probably the most divisive shooting I've seen in a very long time.
Oh, 100%.
Because I don't know if there's a right answer. And it sounds like a cop-out, but it's true. Like, it's multifaceted.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the only reason people care about this is because it's being politicized.
Yep.
Like, that's the only fucking reason. Is every news outlet is going to jump onto this because it's current thing, and they're going to ignore the 12 drunk drivers who killed, American citizens yesterday that were all illegals or H-1Bs or whatever. So.
No, the day before, where an illegal broke into someone's trailer and raped an 11-year-old in front of her 10-year-old sister.
Yep. And
who cares? Who cares about that?
You won't hear about it because it's not politically convenient. So people don't wait for facts. They see what they want to see, and they immediately just jump on, whatever bandwagon's most convenient.
Yeah, just make their decision immediately.
So I think Cody did a pretty good job of expressing, the law enforcement standpoint on that, which is really important because you have to recognize something can be technically wrong while also being technically legal. Hence the term we threw around a lot, lawful but awful. If he was disarmed and everybody in that equation knew it, that's murder. If the only reason he was shot was because he was armed and not because the officers thought their lives were in jeopardy, then that is also murder. If the officers that shot in that situation were unaware that he was disarmed, heard gunfire, heard gun, and thought their lives were in danger and the suspect had just fired a shot and had possession of a firearm, even though we know now that that is not the case, that would fall under that category of lawful but awful. Exercising your First Amendment right to free speech and to peaceably assemble to protest is not a death sentence. Exercising your Second Amendment right to keep and to bear arms, not a death sentence. Being armed, interfering with law enforcement activities, and then getting into a grappling match with said federal officers can have some pretty serious ramifications. And as concealed carriers, that's something that we need to be aware of. Your right to carry a gun does not necessarily exempt you from the consequences of what you do while having that gun on you. Like I said, as concealed carriers, we need to know, not even with law enforcement, this could be a bar fight, right? But when you bring a gun into a potentially violent situation, you are turning that into a life or death situation. And right or wrong, that can have consequences. And again, that's not just with cops, that's not just with, ICE agents, that's true across the board. The same's true on the other side. Because I'm carrying a gun, now any potential violent confrontation is now life or death. Because if you knock me out, now you have a gun and I'm unconscious. Which is one of the reasons, again, as concealed carriers, we have a responsibility to avoid violent confrontation unless there is no other alternative. So what it comes down to, I believe, at the end, is that both parties could be, to an extent, acting within the law. The gray is what happened in the middle and what could have been done differently, which I hope people on both sides can draw from and learn from, so hopefully this never happens again. Regardless of whether you're on the left or the right, it's always a bad thing when Americans kill Americans. But at the end of the day, you wanted my take, and the best I can do is give you the truth, give you honesty. So I think there's ways we can disagree about things, and you can disagree with my take. That's perfectly fine. I'm not saying my take is the objectively correct one to have. It's just the information I've been given and the way that I feel about it. And you're welcome to your own interpretation as well. So I'm sure there will be plenty of peaceful and logical discussion in the comments section. But for real, this is a messed up situation. And again, I hope that there's at least lessons to be learned from it so we can avoid stuff like this in the future. So anyhow, thank you guys. Again, let's try to keep it civil in the comments. A man can dream. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Fuel is my obsession to make the perfect weapon. Like Rasputin's rise to the top.
Did you see Trump actually made a comment about the SIG?
No.
Oh my God. The president reportedly asserted that Preddy had a, quote, very dangerous gun, a dangerous and unpredictable gun, and added, it's a gun that goes off when people don't know it. We have the President of the United States now officially commenting on the P320.
Jesus, dude.
And I think I'm going to approach this using the one thing that the internet fucking hates. An open mind and nuance. That's two things.